Welcome in, everybody, to episode 46 of JD's Empire Sports Talk. Once again here with Jake Biggie Mills as well. I think a very successful first episode together last week, episode 45. If nobody saw that, you can go and watch that one after this. But we don't want to lose you for this episode because I think we have a few more things to get to and a big surprise to us because based off our predictions from last week.
I was just going to say, based off what we picked, this is a little shocking. It's a little shocking here as our first segment of the night.
Yeah, before we get into it, Biggie, I just want to you doing good, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. All right. I'm glad to be back here another Monday night on the JD Empire Sports Talk YouTube channel. Excited to go.
Oh, yeah. Let's get it rolling. We'll start with the NBA, like you just teased about. The NBA Finals is tied up 1-1, which is something that after last week, I think people were convinced, not just us, but just like the entire people that followed basketball.
Right.
Oh, no shot. The Pacers have no chance. Yes, they're one of those teams that, the Pacers can scrap. And, game one, they were down big going into the fourth quarter. And they proved everyone wrong once again with Tyrese Halliburton hitting a crazy shot at the end there, leaving pretty much no time left. Biggie, man, what do the Pacers have that they just keep doing this? I think they have 5 wins like this now in the postseason.
Yeah, like we said, the Thunder, they have, more depth, and they're the team that should win, and it's what everyone thinks. But the Pacers, man, they got, like I said, they have that momentum going with them, and they pulled it through in that first game. I mean, they were down, they came back, and I think it's just that grit and that momentum that they got. But ultimately, I think the Thunder do end up winning the series, but don't expect this to be this is going to be a good series going forward after these first 2 games.
Yeah, and I know we'll get into it in a little bit, like what we think is going to happen. You got to take the series 2 games at a time, pretty much, I would say. I think the way this went, listen, the Pacers got outplayed pretty much all of game 1 and still won.
Oh, yeah. I know.
And then in game 2, they got routed, to say the least. So, and they're a team that can play well both on the road and at home. But I do think, based off of what they did in the first 2 games, they can take a lot of the positives. Even though they didn't play great, they came away with a win. Now think about it. They play well. They can get a win at home, and then it's 2-2. This has the potential, if the Pacers can get one at home, to go 7 games. In my opinion.
That's what I was saying before. I think this is going to be a 7-game series now, just based off that first game, the way Indiana came back. And like you said, they're going to be back home. And I just think that it's definitely going to be a 7-game series. It's going to be a really good series. Not what I expected, not what we picked. We predicted OKC to go up 2-0, which I think a lot of NBA fans and sports fans that have been watching throughout the season would say. They probably said that too. But Indiana, they got that first game. And it wasn't easy for them, but they did it. And I think, definitely a 7-game series here for sure.
Yeah, and a few different things that I can attest to here was, okay, so the Pacers, we talked about this. The Thunder definitely have the height advantage, all that different kind of things, right? So the Pacers in the fourth quarter of game 1, they tried to use it in game 2, didn't really work out. Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren were pretty much a dynamic duo all game. But that fourth quarter of that game, Obi Toppin, the guy that everyone said can't play defense, can't do this, he was the center in that stretch to win the game.
I know, yeah.
You gotta look at the unsung heroes of a game. He definitely was up there. Of course, Halliburton's the headline guy for that team, does it all for them, rebound, passes, scores when he has to. Someone like Obi Toppin, I believe he had 15 or 17 points in game 1. In the fourth quarter, he was just nailing threes. I know Miles Turner was in that game as well, but I think that's one of the things we can take away as just fans watching, and something, of course, Carlisle and that whole coaching staff is great. definitely outplaying their expectations. They got to take that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we had a lineup that wasn't big, but they still came back and won. Like they gotta think about that. Like maybe not trying to match up with what the Thunder want to do, but do with their own thing and take their
Yeah.
strength and go with it. Right?
Well, that's the thing. I think they really capitalized on their own strengths because I'm going to keep bringing it up. Like OKC is more of a depth team than Indiana is. They have more guys that are consistently good. Like they can go through their whole bench and they can win games. They're a good, solid team. Indiana's taking those small pieces that they have and they're really maximizing what they have. That's why they won that first game. Now, obviously, they didn't play great, like you said. It took them a while to get up there and win, but they're maximizing what they have. You know what I mean? Like it's not as much like on paper. Oklahoma City's definitely the better team. Like I'm going to keep saying it, depth wise, talent wise. But again, they're making it work with what they have.
Yes, and one of the next things that we wanted to get to was, of course, the headliner for the Thunder, because everyone always wants to see the superstar step up, and both games that's happened. SGA, man, he is one of a kind. I know everyone's saying he's a free throw merchant, he's this, he's that, but he knows how to play.
Right.
Both games, a ton of minutes. I know game one he had 40 minutes, so he's playing a lot, and he's still productive, which doesn't always happen. You've seen with other teams throughout the league, guys go out there, they're productive, and then when the minutes get up there on them, they kind of lose it. Throughout the entire game, he's slow and steady, getting his at least 30 points that he's always doing, and just making sure his team is in the game. And I feel like the Thunder can score at ease, and when he's doing what he's doing, no chance for any other team, honestly. And
that's the thing, like you said, like all those guys can score, but when he's at his full, it's when he's at like max, they're unstoppable. I think they're close to it, at least. You know what I mean?
Much. Yeah, I mean we've seen that the whole year. And the next question I had for you was, what adjustments need to be made? Because the Thunder, they put up 123 last night, 110 in the first game. So they're scoring, like I said, with ease. Do you think the Pacers need to change the game plan? Because I know they're trying to mix and match with guys guarding SGA, Neesmith, Nembhard, notable guys. I feel they should just stick Neesmith on him the entire game and just let him go after him. And if Neesmith
because again, I know. Yeah, because it's a 1-1 series. It's not like Oklahoma City is dominated where the Pacers need to go, okay, we need to do something different here. We need to move this guy, move that guy. I don't think they have to. I don't think they really have to. But
try to stop him.
If SGA is going to continue to just be dominant, like continue to, get even better throughout this entire series, maybe they'll have to. But I don't see that happening because, again, he's been like that all year. And I think Indiana – again, it's a 1-1 series. It's not like they're down 2-0 and they got dominated in the first two games. I think they're fine where they're at. And like I said, they're going to keep capitalizing on those small things they have because they're determined to win that thing. They really are.
Yeah, and they have that underdog mentality. So
yes, I was just going to say the underdog man. That's what they have. That's it.
And on the Thunder side, you don't want the Pacers getting game 3 because that flips the series in a huge way.
Yes,
so the Thunder you're going on the road. Game 3, you want to make sure you get that first, so then you feel okay. We feel a little more comfortable. We let game 1 get away, and then we took care of business. But this is honestly the way the first 2 games went. Remind me a lot of what the Pacers did against the Knicks, underdogs in the series. They went out, they stole game 1. Yes, they lost game 2, and then they went home. I mean, it could very easily happen.
Could we see that again? Could we see that again?
Very easily see that happen again. Into some Knicks news
here, but we have a lot of people in chat right now, JD. I think we got some of your boys in chat if you want to take a look.
Yeah, I see some of it. No tennis talk, George. Sorry, that's not the program for that. We don't get into tennis. But let's move on.
We got some viewers here.
Yeah, nice. Let's get into some more basketball news here. Literally the day after our episode, Tom Thibodeau was fired by the Knicks. I think everybody's in shock still a week later from what happened. I think we should get into a few different things because, yes, it's all Knicks, the Knicks side, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but we have to take into account what's next for Tibbs. Does he get another job, or do you kind of feel this might be it for him? I don't know.
I want to say he gets another job because of what he did with the Knicks, and as many people probably do, the firing I don't think was necessary at all. I saw it, I was like, what? He just got these guys to the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, how long was he there? 5 years, right?
5 years, yes.
Yeah, and he slowly got the Knicks to that point throughout those years, right? So you get there, and okay, you lose. to be fair, you get there, but that's no reason to fire him. I think he's going to land a job somewhere. He's too good of a coach, I think. What do you think, JD? You're a Knicks fan. I want to hear the Knicks fan perspective on this.
I hope he gets another job just so he has a chance at I mean, he never been to a championship, and I kind of feel his
Yeah.
stubborn ways will prevent him from doing that. And at this point of his career, he's not changing who he is, which everybody understands. And I think that's one of the main reasons why the Knicks said they're not going to bring him back, because they knew, yes, he's a terrific coach, but he has some flaws in his style that will prevent the team from winning the championship. Because that's the ultimate goal, especially
Right.
the past few years, what the Knicks did to get to this point.
Yeah, all
Basically,
the moves they made.
their entire starting five is guys they went out and got, handpicked, and said,
Mhm.
these are the guys that are going to help us get to where we want to get to. So they go out, get Bridges and OG Anunoby. Why? Because they want to stop Tatum and Brown, which this postseason, they took them
They
out.
did.
So we
They
can say
did.
that
Yeah.
worked.
They
They
did.
started
Thank God.
yes, that's one thing we can agree with. Many things we do agree with, but one thing in particular,
Yeah.
Boston.
We don't like
unfortunately,
Boston.
No.
All
This is
sports.
if you like
All of
Boston,
them.
it may not be the show. But
Yeah.
like I was saying, so they made those two moves to take out uh, Boston. They did that. Brunson, the point guard, that the Knicks have not had a point guard before him for years. Even those good teams in the early 2000 like tens, that kind of a run that the Knicks had, they never had a legit point guard where they'd be like, okay, you take the ball, you go win us the game. They never had that. It's been a long time since they had a point guard like that. Brunson fills that. They brought in Cat to do things that they never had a big man do. And they didn't get to really what they wanted to get to, was the championship this year.
Sure, yeah.
He has some flaws in his game, but he was able to show what he can do when
Right, and why they wanted to bring him in like they did.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
So like the point I'm trying to make is Tibbs, yes, coached his team up, but I kind of felt they left a little more in the tank because there was things that he didn't want to do and was reluctant to do. I think someone like
Right.
Josh Hart, I'm a huge Josh Hart fan. I love what he brings to the table. If you want to look at a championship team, is he starting on a championship team? I don't know. I really don't think so. I don't think
Yeah,
he's that
no.
level of a player. And someone like Mitchell Robinson, you have sitting on the bench, he was getting more healthy as the postseason was going on. I know they won the first two series, but that might have been something. Yeah, we beat Boston, whatever. I think we start the Indiana series with Mitch in the lineup, which is something I know they talked about in the Boston series because of his dynamic on defense. So I think those are the things that Leon Rose and James Dolan were sitting at the meetings and were saying, okay, so he didn't want to do this, he didn't want to do that. Kind of seems like he ran the players to the ground, which people can argue about. I don't think he did that, but you never know. Brunson did have a lot of ankle injuries, nagging injuries that could have been from playing too much. So I think that that's the thing. Like, I really think he's a good coach. He should get another chance. He probably will sit out this year. I kind of feel it's a little late.
I was going to say it's too late now for him to get another job somewhere immediately.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it would have to be more of a next year thing. So I feel there's teams that maybe this year they are close to being a postseason team and they don't make it, and then Tibbs comes in there, kind of rejuvenates that franchise and gets them going in the right direction. So it's tough. But I think that he'll do. I think he has one more crack at it because he is older. He's an older coach in the league, so I think he'll get one. I think he'll get one more chance at it from a team that maybe thinks that they need that type of bulldog type
That type of coaching.
Yes. But I think
you don't really see that anymore. You
no,
don't.
you don't. And I think that's what the Knicks want to go to. Listen, we can sit here. We've played in college, or we're playing in college. The coach that isn't the player's friend necessarily doesn't really work anymore, which is unfortunate. But I think the Knicks, like the next point I was going to make here, was the candidates to replace him are going to be guys that are more friendly towards the players and not more so hard on them, which it may not always work like that. But we've seen in the NBA more recently the coaches that are, for the most part, more on the players side. Players coaches, yes.
Yeah, there's a term players coach. That's where the
now.
term comes from, yeah.
And I think a lot of people are saying, which I don't know how or why Dallas would let Jason Kidd just leave. I don't see that.
Yeah.
But he right now is number one for the Knicks, and they really want to get him. What do you think about him and then, like, other guys? What other guys do you think the Knicks should bring in, or maybe people that aren't even thinking of a name that maybe you think? What about
I don't really know, to be honest with you, because again, I didn't think we'd be talking about Tom Thibodeau being fired. You know what I mean?
It's a shocker. It really is.
Yeah, it is. But I really don't know. Again, I think Dallas getting rid of Jason Kidd was almost as shocking as the Luka trade earlier in the year.
Like the thing is, though, the Knicks need permission to interview him. So if I'm Dallas, I'm saying absolutely not. Why would you
No.
want to get rid of the guy that got you to the finals 2 years ago? And then like we've seen, Jason Kidd actually was traded already as a coach. He was traded
Yeah,
to
coach trade. Yeah.
Brooklyn. Yeah, he was traded from Milwaukee to Brooklyn. So it's not something that's like, oh, I've never seen it before. It's possible. But
Oh, it
if you're
happens. Yeah.
but at the time, the Nets sent 2 second-round picks, I believe, or it was a late first-round pick. So it's not like you're getting a franchise changing move for a coach.
Yeah.
So if I'm Dallas, and you have the first pick. I'm Dallas. You have the first pick. Kyrie and I mean, I know Kyrie and AD are getting up there in age. We have a chance to
Yeah.
get Cooper Flag pairing with those two and a good coach in Jason Kidd. If I'm Dallas, I'm not doing that. But if
Yeah,
I'm
no, I was gonna say, especially with the first pick, there's no way I'd get rid of him.
Yeah, and if I'm the Knicks, I'm sitting there. Okay, so we have a potential Giannis Antetokounmpo move on the table.
Yes, and there's actually a comment here. Living in Staten Island, New York, commented here. They have to talk about getting Giannis now.
That's the reason why I believe Jason Kidd is that much of a chance at becoming the Knicks coach. He coached Giannis in his early days. I know they didn't have team success, but
Right,
that's
but
someone
still there, still a
you think.
connection.
And exactly, you listen, someone like Giannis at the time, a guy or a kid at that time coming from another country and being mentored by someone that played in the NBA at that young of an age, kind of show him the ropes. I feel that's something that's a respect level that definitely has never left. I know
Oh,
things
for
happen
sure.
along the way, but if those guys can come back and reunite, you never know, man. That could be something.
It could be that recipe for success, and it could
Yeah,
be the way for the Knicks to, they got themselves to the Eastern Conference Finals. That
yeah,
could be the move that gets them to the actual finals, and so
yeah.
forth.
So, but it has to be a notable name. That's the point we're trying to make here, or else the Knicks front office kind of looks like fools for the most part.
Yeah.
Because why would you
And especially all the moves they made, like you said, their roster this year was handpicked. It really,
Yeah.
like everyone was, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they do all that stuff to get the players. And then, you have this whole situation with Tom Thibodeau, and, you don't go out and get a coach that is going to get you there. You get some no-name guy who, you're just hiring to hire. Like, they need to make a splash coach hire, I think,
Yeah.
to tag along with the, like you said, that handpicked roster that they have,
Yeah.
which worked in a sense, but then you fire your head coach. You got to, you got to have some sort of logic there,
Yeah. Yeah. And something we talked about before the show was Leon Rose. Yes, a guy that is, I don't know, maybe he's afraid to speak in front of the cameras. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. You brought that up to me.
He doesn't really go out there and say what his plans are, which, I mean, listen, if you're going to do that and you do the right things behind the scenes, we can't complain about it. But
Right.
he's got to come up with something that's huge, and we can't doubt him though because he's made really good moves. This is for his first coach he's going really out to get. We'll see what happens, what he pulls in, but we'll see what happens. A few other things I think we can hit here with the NBA. One injury, Darius Garland, very good point guard for the Cleveland Cavaliers, had a toe surgery that will keep him out 4 to 5 months, and that's a little significant because now we're in June. So think about 5 months from now. That's the beginning of the regular season. He's got to rehab from that, and then he's got to come back and be in game shape. So beginning of the year, Cavs are not going to be 100% right away.
No, and also, I don't know if you saw, there's some talks about, are the Cavs going to move on from Donovan Mitchell now?
Yeah.
There's some talks about it, and I am a Cavs fan. Again, I don't watch the NBA as much as you do, JD, but I follow it now a little bit because this final series is great. And I follow my Cavs because they had a very great regular season. But, that might hurt us too. So we don't have Garland at the beginning of the year, and he's not going to be 100%. We might lose our guy, who, like, Donovan Mitchell is our guy. He's the reason we're relevant the last since we got him. Because between getting Donovan Mitchell and LeBron going to LA, the Cavs were okay. Colin Sexton, who I had the utmost faith in, failed me. So mad about that. I thought he was going to be the guy instead of Garland. Ended up being Darius Garland, which, that's good. He's a good player. Ended up being him. That's okay. But until we got Donovan Mitchell, the Cavs were just like, everyone kind of just gave up on them. You know what I mean? That no one talked about them. They're like, okay, we're back to the 2014, 2015 Cavaliers, before LeBron, when LeBron was in Miami.
Irrelevant, pretty much. And I'm glad you brought that up about Mitchell, because Donovan Mitchell didn't seem, well, from the beginning, we knew a few summers back when he was traded, didn't seem like he wanted to go to Cleveland, and it still doesn't seem like he's enjoying everything about that. So
no, he's not, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, they did had a great year and all that, but it does not seem like he's 100% committed to them. And I know we signed the contract, but we know the NBA, these guys, they want to switch teams like they change their underwears and socks.
I know, yeah, and that's part of the reason why I don't watch it anymore, because it is turning into that. It's not enjoyable anymore to even follow. Like, these guys are, that's all they care about now. It's not about the game anymore. It's about that, like you said, guys changing teams and the contracts, and it's just. I mean, sports as a whole is becoming like that. You're seeing it now with the NIL and college. It sucks in a sense, but the NBA, it's just insufferable. At least to me, it is. I can't stand it.
No, I totally get it. It's like, where's like when the guys like committed to one team and they know, like a Steph Curry, he could have definitely very easily over the past few years said, "Oh, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this anymore."
Right.
Like that, where he really had to sit back and carry them. He's not going to leave like that.
No.
There's not many players like that anymore. Just like, oh, this guy has a chance. I have a chance of doing this with this team. Oh, I just signed a massive contract with the team I'm on. No, I still want to get traded, and you still have 5 years, 6 years left on the contract, and you want no part of it. It blows my mind the things that these players.
It really
do.
does. Yeah,
it is what it is. And the last thing I think we can talk about here is, because these players want to move from team to team, is a few teams like in the off season, because when the finals ends, those free agency starts, the draft happens very soon. A few teams to watch out for, like splash type moves, or just teams that they're right there. And I feel like maybe there's a few that can make that next jump, especially in the Eastern Conference. I think there's a few teams that are kind of bunched up together who are like 6 or 7 seed and lower, who can make 1 or 2 moves, and they're right back up there in the top, just because the East is a little questionable. Someone like Boston, they're not going to be as good as they were. Like, they're still a good team.
They're still in good shape, but I think they're starting that slower decline now. The guys, the core guys, like you see what happened with Jason Tatum, his injuries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sucks. You know what I mean? But they're getting to that point. It's like the same topic of the Giannis. Giannis is getting to that point now where, is he gonna go ring chase? Or we talked about this last week. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or is he still at a point where he's going to be a consistently good player? We're looking at teams like Boston. Like, I think a team like Boston, they're going to start to be like that in these upcoming years. They're still good. Don't get me wrong. They're still one of the best teams, as much as I hate them. But they're getting to that point where it's like, oh no, these guys, our core guys, are getting older. And like I said, the Jason Tatum injuries are like, it hurts them all the time.
Yeah. And think
because
about
he's good. He's really good.
Oh,
Jason Tatum. He's really good. And, they don't have him, and it kind of derails a lot of things.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, a team like, say, Detroit, Orlando, Miami, I would say, it's weird.
Yeah, Miami can still be good again. Maybe they get like 1 or 2 big names in free agency, and then they're back to kind of where they were. But again, they would have to do that, and if they don't, I don't see them being much better.
Yeah, and like those 3 teams, though, like Detroit, they make a move or 2. I feel KD. If I'm KD and I want to have a chance at, a championship, obviously you go to one of those top teams, but something that where you think you can be that missing piece. Listen, Detroit brings in KD in the trade, which I don't see it happening, because KD
it's like so far out. Right?
Yeah, but I could see that. Like, KD goes to Detroit. Detroit, I feel, is a top 3 team in the East next year, just because, yes, the Bucks were the 5 seed. Giannis is not there anymore. They're out of the running.
Oh, they're out of the playoff picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They're gonna be like the Cavs out there. LeBron left. I'm gonna keep making that example. It's gonna be like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So take them out. Then the Cavs, I don't think will be as good. Boston, not as good. They'll be good, but not what they were this year. They're not winning 60 games. I don't care who they have on the team. That's just not happening.
Right.
So you take those teams out of the equation. Detroit can be one of those teams, I think, to watch out for. And then in the West, anything that comes to mind for you? Because the West was excellent this year. I mean,
it was, yeah.
8 seed Grizzlies had 48 wins. That's all
I know. And you don't see that. The West, I still have hope in Sacramento.
Really? Never. Yeah. I never thought I would hear that.
You don't think?
I just feel like I'm trying to think of a comparison you can make with an MLB team. I kind of feel like they're one of those teams that are always stuck in we're not middle. Too good or too bad. We're in the middle. I think of a team like, I don't know, Milwaukee Brewers, we could say.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a fair comparison. I know.
They'll make the postseason they're not once in a while, but they make the postseason. They'll always flame out in the playoffs. Yeah. Kings are kind of one of those teams. I feel they make the postseason play-in type team. they'll never get to that next level. I mean,
Yeah,
you
no, I
made
don't think they're going to get very far, but I don't think they're going to have any drop off of some sort.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but do you really think though, like, will they go out there and make that type of move that'll help them get better? I don't know. I don't think they're
You
smart
know,
enough. I really
yeah,
don't think so.
you look at it from, making a huge move like getting a huge free agent. I don't see that.
No,
I just think they're one of those teams that can be, I don't think is going to be going down. I think the future's a little brighter for them than some of the other teams. That's the point I'm trying to make. I don't think they're going to make any huge moves,
no, I
but
see what
that's a team that I thought of that, could possibly be like, oh, the Kings made the playoffs again. Oh, they won a playoff game. Oh, they're competitive now. Look at this. That's one of those teams I'm thinking of. What about
No,
you?
I see what you're saying. The one team I thought you actually were going to say was the Spurs, just because of who
Yeah.
they have now, and at the end of their record doesn't really speak for the talent they have on the
No.
team. Just because the Aaron Fox got hurt, Wemby was banged up and everything like that, so they came
Yeah.
away with the third pick in the draft, which I feel, and they have another one, I think 12 or 13. So they have two first round picks that are high profile picks where they can trade one of those for a really good player, and then they can use the
Mhm.
third pick on the Dylan Harper type player who's going to be a really good player in the NBA. I feel it just depends on what they need. But they can be a team. I think I keep mentioning KD because he's going to be a hot topic in terms
Yeah,
of getting
I
traded.
know. Yeah, it's
Suns
gonna
don't want
be
any part of him anymore.
again. He's a hot topic again. What else is new?
Of course, he's always in the news for whatever
There's
reason.
something.
And listen, he could still play. He's older, yes, but if you put him on a
I would
team
say he's still good. Yeah.
where he doesn't need to be the number one guy, which I don't think he would have to be counted on that much in a San Antonio type of environment, I think
Yeah,
he could
no,
be
that's fair. Yeah.
perfect. And he'll
Yeah.
still score you 25 points a game. And then when you have a Wemby, you have a Stephon Castle, a potential Dylan Harper, Devin Vassell, Stephon Castle. They have so many different guys on Wemby. Like I just said, all those guys on that team, you never know. But I think the Spurs, even if they don't get KD, there's plenty of other options out there to get a lot better. And
Yeah.
just with the guys coming back too, I think it's a good mix that they're going to have. They'll definitely be in the postseason. I know they have a new coach too, who he was the interim this year, so they already know him, younger guy.
Yeah.
He's
He's
a
been
good pick.
around. Yeah.
They can grow up together, learning from, of course, an all-time great and Popovich, Coach Popovich. So I think everything for the Spurs is going in the right direction. Because then the
Yeah.
rest of the West, the kind of all those teams that were good this year, I feel like they're going to be in the same spot. They're not really losing anybody.
Yeah.
They're kind of stuck in the sense of the guys they have on their team. Like the Clippers, what can they really do? The Nuggets,
Not
what
much.
can they really do? Not much.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like there's nothing really you can do about that. So uh, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But the NBA, even when the finals is over, man, the players that get moved from team to team, it happens
Yep.
every year.
It's crazy now. It's insane.
Yeah, it is, and we talked about it before. But I really think the off season is going to be insane. And then this was
Mhm.
just a little preview of what's going to happen.
I know. Yeah. The finals aren't even over yet. Just wait till the finals are over.
Yeah, I'm sure there's guys out there as well that we're not even thinking of that'll get moved. But
Yeah.
Biggie, I think there's some news I have for you once again,
Oh
and
no.
it is
Is it
involving
time for Is it time for bad news for Biggie?
yeah, that picture.
Oh.
You already look disappointed. I didn't even tell you yet. Um,
Oh.
yeah, I got bad news again. Bad news again involving baseball, like I did last week, but that was
More
on the
bad
college.
baseball news. Great.
Yeah, I mean, but this time it wasn't really involving a managerial move. It was more so of a broadcast, and I cannot stand the ESPN Sunday Night broadcast. So when I
Mhm.
saw this, I was like, perfect. I have time to clown on them once again because they don't have much knowledge of the game. They bring up things that have nothing to do with really what is going on in the situation. They
Yeah.
just bring up the advanced analytics, this and that. And the one thing that bothers me with what they do, baseball is one of the hardest sports out there. And then when you're
Yeah.
sticking a mic on a player in the middle of a professional game, those guys obviously at the highest level, they're extremely talented. We can't deny that. But that's
Mhm.
a distraction, I feel, and it's not for everyone. So someone like Jazz
No.
Chisholm, I know watching him from the outside, very great personality. So I can see
Yeah.
why they said we want to have him on the mic. But he's also playing a position of third base where everything reaction time, everything's a lot quicker, and it's not something
Yeah.
I feel. I know for the Yankees, he's willing to do it, but I know in the
Yeah.
back of his head he's not comfortable playing third just because of the other positions he's played in his career, second base and
Yep.
center
I
field.
know.
So
Uh-huh.
it's already tough for him because he's at a position he's not ready for. You can only get so many practice reps and everything like that, coming
Yep.
off
Yep.
an injury as well. And they put the mic on him last night during
Yeah.
Sunday
Oh
night
god.
against the Red Sox. He made a tough play, a spinorama play. He spins and he's in mid conversation. listen, even if he didn't have the mic on, maybe he wouldn't have made that play. But I feel just adding that on pile, it makes me happy just to clown on these guys because they're idiots. The booth, and he throws the ball away, just sails it into the stands, pretty much.
Oh, oof, Maron. Jeez.
But this is the thing. What I'm trying to say is like ESPN really, for the most part, they're the only ones that do. Then they do the stupid coaching interviews. The coaches don't reveal anything. Come on,
Yeah.
stop. It's
No
annoying.
offense. No offense. You're a baseball guy. Like the managers interviewing them during the game. There's so many games in the year. What are you going to get from that? Right?
Exactly.
It's not like football. Like they're making it like a football broadcast.
And it's like football is obviously it's one of a kind as well, but I feel there's
It is.
more room. There's more room to do things like that than the sport of baseball, just because of how quick the action is. It's like you're interviewing the coach, and the inning can be over in 2 seconds,
Yeah.
and something like that's what I'm saying. And then you're interviewing a player in like the middle of an inning. I don't get it.
I don't like it. I don't like. They're probably thinking, this is innovative. Nobody's doing this. Well, there's a reason why this wasn't happening. There's a reason why. You know what I mean? And listen, I only like the Sunday Night Baseball because the Yankees are on 50 more than that of the time, and I don't get the Yes Network anymore, so I get to watch the Yankees more, which is fantastic. So that's the only reason I will stand up for it. But besides that, it is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, the one point you just made, that's another thing with Sunday Night Baseball. It's the same 4 or 5 teams. I think
I was going to say the Yankees were on the last 2 Sundays. Yeah.
I think in the last month, the Yankees were on 3 out of 4, right? They played the Dodgers.
Listen, as a fan, I'm not going to complain because
I know where you're coming
I get to watch them. I don't have the Yes Network anymore.
Yeah,
so we don't have cable anymore at the house. So I get to watch my team. But if you're like a fan of another team and you're never getting the primetime games, even if it's a good game, and it's just the Yankees are playing the Rockies. Oh, it's the Yankees. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, even as a Yankees fan, I think that. It's just like, oh, it's the Yankees. You know what I mean? Yeah. I even say that as a fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the next point I think we can get into here, the perfect segue is, we know we're going to talk about Paul Skeens here, but Paul Skeens is a guy that is a talent that people don't get to watch because his team stinks. So, like, you think about it, it's like this is a guy you only see over video on Instagram, TikTok, all the social media outlets. A guy that went out there yesterday, 7 2/3, 2 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. Didn't come away with a win. The team did, of course. The Pirates came away with a rare win, which is something that they swept the Phillies.
And they swept the Phillies. They swept Philadelphia. Like, come on.
That happened. But this is a guy that he pitched so great. This is why it's our headline for the MLB. This
our
episode,
topic,
he's so good, but on a bad team, and it's like, damn, man, we want to watch him more. He went out there. He has a 4-6 record, which I know records don't mean much anymore. It's like not.
No, they really don't. No.
Really, like, But in terms of what he has to deal with, he's a guy that has a losing record with an ERA under 2.
Yeah, which is
1.88, or it's under a 1.9, which is incredible. And he has a losing record.
Yeah, and your team stinks. You're on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Like, that just shows how great he is.
He needs to get out. I know we said this last week. We'll say this every week. He needs to get out of Pittsburgh. I know they don't want to do it. I'm sure in the back of his mind, he wants to get out of there. That team is not better.
Oh my God.
And like like I just said, his ERA second in the NL. Like, he's a Cy Young candidate in his second full year. Like, last year, I feel actually, if you think about it, this is kind of his first full year. Just because last year he had an innings limit and all that stuff when he got to the end of the season. And just being a guy that is so talented and he just has no chance of winning, it's frustrating. Like, listen, he'll start the All-Star game. He'll get the taste of being around all those like really good players. I'm sure the guys will clown him in the All-Star game. Oh, you started the All-Star game, but look what we were playing with, and look what you got in Pittsburgh. You got guys that are bums pretty much. You could find someone from the streets of Pittsburgh, put him on the Pirates, give him a uniform. He'll be better than like, I don't want to be mean here, but like, come on, they got to do something for this guy. Like, he's too talented.
He has nothing. He has nothing. It's sad.
It's bad, man. Like, I don't get it. Like, I mean, he's going out there every start, 7 innings, like 3 runs or less, pretty much for the most part.
Yeah, I know.
Like almost 10 strikeouts. He's in that range of 6 to 10 strikeouts every start. It's like, come on, and that's why I felt it was necessary to talk about him first.
Yeah, mainly.
I know, just because I know like what he's like, man. I mean, no one really knows what he's going through, but like you just feel for him. It's just like
Yeah.
he just needs a better situation because he's a
Need a
lot
better
of
team. We said it last week. The Pirates need guys. When you're like I don't know, like Andrew McCutchen, I know he's tied for what, the most home runs in Pirates history, or he was, right? We talked
he's
about it.
up on the top. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was up there.
Most of that was from early in his career. He's one of their top hitters.
It shouldn't be that
And
way.
then at the beginning of the year, he's gotten a little bit better. I remember Tommy Pham. Like, those are your top guys with Paul Skeens on the mound almost every game.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's the problem with them, and hopefully it gets better for Mr. Skeens.
I
We're rooting
hope
for him. We're rooting for him to
I hope
get a new home soon. Hopefully,
a new home, or they just completely revamp the Pirates for him. If they
yeah,
want to keep him, they will invest in the team,
yeah, they have to at this point, and
or else he's gone.
generational talent that is going to waste.
Yep.
Hopefully he figures it out. But other MLB news we got here. I know someone that we really don't want to talk about, but of course he's in the news once again in a negative way. Juan DeFranco, this time charged with gun possession in the Dominican Republic. I
Yep.
know it's a sensitive topic that we just said, but just an unfortunate way of ending the career, just of like what he did. Obviously, we're not going to talk about that, but what he did
Yeah. No.
first to get to this point now, it just like seems like he just has a troubled life. Hopefully, it gets better for him because he was a guy in life. Obviously, you don't want this to happen to people, but just on the baseball field, because that's what we're doing here for the show. Terrific player on the field, and he just completely wasted career. I know Tampa Bay got screwed with the contract. They gave him a really big contract, and for their standards, a big contract, and that's something that's going to kill them just because they don't have him around. They're
I know
paying.
they're not going to have him. Yeah, because
Yeah,
of all
it
this
stinks
stuff
for
that he's getting into.
yeah, and it stinks for them just because
It
of like
does.
that was one of the few guys that they really they developed pitching, but a position player they developed for once,
I know, and was consistently good for him. Yeah.
and things like that happen. Very unfortunate. But another few guys that we have coming up here, prospect type players. I know we talked about him last week. Jack Taglione,
Yes.
huge prospect. I believe he was number 10 overall before coming up. He started out 2 for 21, which obviously doesn't look great, but he went
No.
4 for 4 Sunday afternoon. So seems like he's getting more comfortable, and he's right in the
Mhm.
middle of a Royals lineup that is very talented. And he's
Yeah.
also playing. He was right. He was in right field, which he's not really an outfielder, but they're trying to get him involved because someone like Vinny Pasquantino, terrific first baseman. You can't move him because he's good. So you have
Right. That's the thing. There's
Taglione.
nowhere for him. He's good enough to be on the field, but there's nowhere for him to fit besides the outfield. Like they're
Right
already,
now,
like you said, they're a great roster. You know what I mean? Like that's where he fits best right now, and they want to get the best guys out there, and he's one of them. So that's what they're gonna have to do. They're trying to get him involved, like fully in the lineup. You know?
Exactly, and credit to him for like being all right. I'll go do whatever you need me to do, but that
Yeah.
definitely
Exactly.
it takes a toll on your at bats just because you're thinking about what you have to do on defense. Playing first base, I'm not saying it's easy, but compared to outfield, totally different game.
Oh yeah, it's way different. Yeah.
What I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad he got his 4 knocks. That's another guy. We root for the good guys, and he's one of those.
Yes, he's
Uh,
one of the good guys. Yes.
just even at the, I mean, I know he's only been up for a week, but he'll be one of the faces of the league very soon, and another potential face of the league after the Red Sox won 2 out of 3 against the
Yeah,
Yankees.
just got the call like today.
Yeah, today, Roman Anthony, number 1 overall prospect in the entire MLB. So the Red Sox have finally brought up their trio of top prospects. He was the last guy who everyone thought he would be the first one, but he's the last one to come up.
Yeah.
He's a true center fielder, but he'll play right for the Red Sox, right and probably left field, just to maybe a little infield as well, because he's very versatile. Another guy that has a lot of versatility to him. But the Red Sox, listen, they're 3 games under 500, but they're very capable. We always see it every year. One of those teams that is capable of making like one of those big runs, hitting the dog days of the summer, as the MLB guys like to call it. Red Sox are very capable of doing that.
Of being that team. Yeah, I was just gonna say they're one of those teams that's slowly progressing throughout the year. Like they didn't have the best start. They're still like, they're still third, right? We're gonna look at that later, guys.
They're in fourth.
They're
in fourth now.
They're in fourth. Okay. Yes. So even more of my point, but they're starting to get a little bit better. And I think now that they have all the, like you said, the trio of prospects up, just with Roman Anthony today, they're gonna start to get a little bit better. Those guys are gonna develop, and it's gonna be good in Boston going forward.
I mean, and their lineup is pretty good now. I know they're counting on a lot of young guys. So he's actually,
Yeah.
as we speak, he's actually up at the plate, but he didn't get a hit in his first at bat. He grounded at. Oh, what did he do? Oh, he flied out his first at bat, and he's actually up as we speak. So I'm gonna have that pulled up as we
Yeah,
get into
just to get a
the next
little live stat on
live, little live
Roman
update on
Anthony
the number one prospect in the league. But
and the
next thing
MLB.
we'll hit here is Pete Alonso passed David Wright yesterday for second all time in home runs with the Mets at 243 all time. He's 10 away from first place, so that will definitely, I feel, happen within the
Oh
next
yeah,
end of
absolutely.
July. To say the latest, end of July, just the way he's playing right now. Pete has been on a absolute tear the entire
I
year.
was gonna say he's having a really good year.
Yeah, and he took a lot of heat last year just because he wasn't consistent. He felt the pressure, and you can tell he's one of those types of guys that when the pressure is on, doesn't always perform. But in the postseason, I feel he earned his contract in the postseason, and now this year, what a guy, man! He's been
Yeah,
great for
no,
the Mets, over 60 RBIs, just consistently great for this team.
I know, and you know what it is? Like you look back at when he what was the year that he won the what year was that when he had like his breakout year? 29 was it 2019?
His rookie year, 53 home
His
runs.
rookie year, yes, the 50
Yeah.
home run year. Yes, that's what I'm looking for. You look at the Mets then, and then you look at them now. What's the difference? Tell me the difference.
And they got supporting cast around him now. I'll tell you that.
That's it.
Bingo, right?
You get some guys around Alonso, and look what like the Mets are good. The Mets are playing good baseball right now compared to Alonso's first year and like the last couple of years. They finally built around. Like they realized, hey, we have this guy. He's he's good. He's going to be one of our top guys for the next coming years. Let's build around him a little bit. And here we are, 5-6 years later, and the Mets are back and forth, first and second with the Phillies.
Yeah, and for him to get because he's gonna get the record. For him to get
Yeah,
the record,
absolutely.
and hopefully, like they extend him, which I think they will do at the end of this year, because
Hey, absolutely.
and then he could just absolutely obliterate this record, where probably no one will ever touch it again. Is
Nope.
what I think all Met fans are rooting for right now. Because Pete is also one of those guys, man. He's just a good guy on and off the field that everyone roots for. He's a little weird, to be honest. He's a little strange. But I guess as Met fans, we like him for who he is. So that's
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because he's playing great baseball right now.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. And yeah, Roman Anthony actually just lined out, so 0 for 2 to start his young career. But I'm sure he'll get his first knock within maybe tonight, because he has probably 2 at bats left. Maybe tomorrow he'll get it. He'll get it.
Yeah,
Hopefully by next week. Hopefully he gets it by next episode. Or else,
yeah, hopefully. So we have something to talk about with Alonso.
Yeah, and then here I guess we can brush through the stat leaders per se, and then we'll get into the standings again like we did last week, because there was some shakeup in the standings. A few divisions got shorter from first. Obviously, first place lead got a little shorter, and then some of the teams extended their lead as well. But anyone in particular on like the stat categories that you want to hit? I know Judge is insane. Usually,
yeah, I just wanted to talk about Judge and even the Yankees as a whole. Like,
yeah,
how many home runs they're hitting this year? Like it's unbelievable. Like it really isn't. It's crazy. I think I said it in the first episode. I did not expect them to be, like coming off the World Series, and they got rid of some key guys. You know what I mean? Like Torres went, and some other. I don't remember the top of my head. Some of the guys left, and then we signed Paul Goldschmidt, who I didn't think was going to be very good because he's old.
we talked about that last week.
37 years old, and they're exceeding expectations right now, and I'm very very happy with it. They, it's just that they're living up to their name right now, the Bronx Bombers. Let me tell you. Let me find some stats here. I want to pull this up so I can actually get some numbers here. So Aaron Judge right now for them has 23 home runs at this point in the year. He leads them in RBIs as well, 55. His on-base percentage is .493. 95 hits. He's leading the team in everything. Like, he's on a tear right now. His batting average is 396. Point 396.
At this 396 batting average at this point of the season.
It's
unheard
awesome.
of. Yeah, it's unheard of. One guy I did want to highlight was Cal Raleigh from the Mariners, for a team that is known for not hitting or ever scoring runs.
Yeah, not doing much of anything.
No, but it feels like the roles have actually switched this year, where they can score, but their pitching stinks. I don't know how you can even. Usually, this is a team that we said this last week. They couldn't buy more than 3 runs a game.
Right. Yeah.
But Cal Riley, man, 26 home runs already. A guy that, yes, he's been a good player throughout his career, but he is literally almost at his career total now in June. His career total home
Yeah.
runs was last year 34. He only needs 9 more to get to his career high, which is pretty good. Uh, which I did not expect that. There's a few other guys I know. Pete Crow Armstrong, MVP candidate, was a Met at one time. They traded him for Javi Baez, who is doing well now. So I guess, well, not for the Mets, but for another team that we'll get into when we get
Yeah.
into the standings. But a lot of good productive players. And I think there was one guy that I wanted to hit with the pitching. I just want to find him, just his stats as a whole, just because of how good he's been this year.
While you're looking for that, we got a little comment here from Christopher Downey.
Oh yeah, my
How
uncle.
about that awesome catch by Denzel Clark?
Oh, did you see that, Biggie? That was insane catch, man. They were actually in the bums, not really a bum stadium, but the AAA stadium.
Yeah, they're
the
playing
Sacramento-
in a bum stadium. They are.
Yeah, and
For MLB standards.
Clark was in center field. I mean, he ran a long way, and he flipped into ran into the fence somehow, uh, caught the ball. But the guy I wanted to talk about, of course, I don't know why I was forgetting uh, his numbers, but DeGrom, man, and this is someone we didn't talk about last week. But
Yes.
DeGrom had a resurgent year. I know he's been injured for the past 4 or 5 years, but he's 6-2, a 2.1 ERA. He only, of course, he doesn't walk anybody. 17 walks on the year, 74 strikeouts in 76 innings. I mean, he's already hit his total over the past two. He's already passed the last time he threw this many innings, I should say, was 2021, and that was only 92. So he's gonna shatter that. The last time he threw over 92 innings was 2019. I feel he's gonna get that at this point. And if hopefully for DeGrom's sake, they get him traded from Texas to somewhere that is in the playoff conversation.
A team that's contending. Yeah.
Because this level of DeGrom, you want to see him in the postseason. He definitely,
Yes,
if I'm the American League voters or the coaches, when they decide who they want to start in the All-Star game, I'm starting DeGrom. I know there may be a guy or two out there. There may be a guy or two out there. No, Max Fried comes to mind with a low ERA, but DeGrom, he's a veteran, earned the respect, resurgent year, Cy Young candidate. After what he had to go through, he deserves that.
Yeah, I was going to say, after everything he's been through, to be at that point is awesome.
And good for him, man. And the fact that he's just lights out, and he's not when he was with the Mets, he was throwing 100 consistently every inning. He's kind of learned more so the art of pitching, which he was great at. But now he's learned, okay, I don't need to have my A-plus fastball in the first inning. I can save that for maybe the 6th or 7th when guys have seen me 2 or 3 times in the order, and I can go from there with that, which is great to see DeGrom. Good for him, man. But any other guy?
Yeah, it really is. It's good to see.
Any other guy you wanted to hit before we get our standings update going, or are you good with that?
No, I'm all good. We can get right into the standings.
All right. Yeah, you know what? I'll go first today because you went first last time. We'll switch.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take the National League once again. We'll start a little backwards this time. We'll start with the NL West, which is definitely getting a lot more interesting than people thought. Dodgers only have a 1-game lead in first place right now over both the Padres and the Giants. So the Dodgers have hit a little bit of a skid, kind of playing 500 baseball for the most part over the last 3 weeks or so because they're pitching injuries. A few different things have happened. Padres and Giants have just been pretty much red hot for the most part. Giants, we said this last week. Shocking, honestly, that they're doing this good, but they are. So
they are.
Good for them. Good for them. Diamondbacks are in 4th place. They don't really. I don't know. I feel like they have a little bit of a run in them, but just because that division, they have 3 top horses pretty much in front of them.
Yeah.
I don't know how they can recover at this point from that. If all those 3 teams are playing good, it's hard to come back.
I was gonna say this is a very this is one of those close knit divisions this year for sure. Yeah, because again, even close with the Dodgers, like I mentioned last week, it's the Padres. They're a great team, but they always fall short to the Dodgers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the Giants, like we said, they're exceeding expectations. So I mean, top 3 spots, they're all competitive.
Yeah, and from last week to this week, the standings changed because the Dodgers had I believe it was a 4-game lead.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, way bigger of a lead than they do now.
Yeah, and now look, 1-game lead, and then the Rockies down there sitting at 12 and 53. Listen, they got a sweep last week. They had 3 wins.
They did after we talked all that garbage on them. Yeah,
they beat another trash team in the Marlins, but we got to give them credit. They did sweep.
Yeah, they did. They went out there and they swept them. Who cares? They needed that. They're out of the single-digit wins.
3 wins in June already. We got to give them some.
How
credit.
about that?
Look at that for the baby steps, I guess, for the Rockies, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Next division we got here, NL Central. Cubs having a terrific year. Uh,
Yep.
they create a little more separation in division from last week. They're at 40 and 25. Cardinals are at 36 and 29. Surprise team, I would say.
Yeah.
Brewers always consistent, kind of in that a little over 500 range every year, 35 and 31. Reds are 500. They had a better week for the most part. I said this that maybe not this year, but in a few years they can make that climb up. And then
Yep.
last place, just the Pirates once again. They're just one of those teams that they
14,
can't.
14 and a half games out of like behind last place there.
Uh, in this, and I don't get it, man. We
Yeah.
can't keep harping on it, but it's just like, come on, be better, right?
It is like it's just a waste for Paul Skeens. Like he's so good. And then they're 14. Like that's crazy. 14 and a half games behind. Oh my
in
God.
June. In June. Think
Yeah.
about it. In about 2 months from now, they're going to be like 35 games out of first.
I know. If they keep this up, yeah.
Yeah, very easily. But another good division, Cubs and Cardinals. Definitely the Cubs. I can see them making some noise in the postseason.
Definitely, yeah. With the way they're playing right now.
Yeah, I mean their offense. They're one of the best offenses in the league. Give them another starting pitcher or two. Make up maybe a Jacob deGrom guy. Trade or something. We can get to that. NL East here. Mets are 42 and 24 after a great week. 8-2 in their last 10. So after that little stretch that we talked about of Soto not hustling and all that stuff, kind of feels like
Speaking of Soto, we got another comment. Robert D'Angelo here.
Oh yeah, my Uncle Robert right there with the
Talk
shout
about
out.
Juan Soto getting on base 6 times yesterday for the first time in his career, and he played in his 1,000th game with 212 homers and 100 walks. We didn't put that in the notes, did we?
No, we didn't. That was pretty impressive. Only second player in history put there as well. So, of course, we knew Soto wasn't going to be not as good as he was, and he's starting to heat it up a little bit and enjoying life, which is someone that I didn't talk about this with you, but with CT a week before, Michael K making up rumors once again. So, my buddy Michael K, keep it up, man. Stay hot, stay hot. Oh man,
Yeah,
he's one of those. He's one of those Yankee fans. I know you're a Yankee fan. I don't want to make fun of them, but he's one
making
of those.
Us look great, making us look like straight class.
Yeah, he's still one of those sour Yankee fans, I should say, right?
He is, unfortunately. Makes us look bad.
Yeah. Phillies in second place at 37 and 28. They had an awful week. We said that they got swept by the Pirates.
They got swept by the Pirates, yep.
They also lost 2 out of 3 to the Blue Jays, who aren't bad, but the Phillies should be a team that won.
Yeah, and they're not hitting great right now.
No, Harper's hurt. They're missing him. Trey Turner hasn't been as great as he usually is. Schwarber, but the rest of the lineup is not really producing. And 1-9 in their last 10, so that'll do it to you when you lose games in division. Because up until before we did our first episode together, they were in first place. They looked like the team that was going to hit the summer stretch in a good way. But the Mets kind of flipped the switch, and they're doing well. Nationals at 30 and 35. That was another team we said that maybe not this year, but next year, just because the prospects and young guys they have, they can be good. I think one of the biggest surprises, I know Acuna wasn't available for them for the first 2 months. They are 10 games under 500, Biggie. 27.
I know, that's bad.
That is not good.
Especially for the Atlanta Braves, it's really bad.
Yeah, this is a team, since Acuna came back, they're 3-12. I thought he would come back. They would be one of those teams that, we got to be watching out for them. But
yeah, we said that last week. We did.
Yeah, very unfortunate. I'm not complaining, but like for the league, I thought they would be one of those teams that they made the postseason 7 years in a row. They're in jeopardy. I know it's still very early, but it doesn't look like they have that same spunk to them that they usually have. They always have energy. Does not seem like that's the case this year. Maybe some turmoil within the clubhouse. Who knows? I don't want to speculate, but
yeah, you don't want to make rumors.
But it's got to be something, right? Something's not
clicking going on, yeah, because there's no way this team should be 10 games below 500. There's absolutely no way.
Not at all. And then the Marlins in last place, 24 and 39. One of those teams, once again, there's nothing really much to say about them. They're kind of always in the same boat. But
they're not great.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't want to cut you off there, but I was going to say, want to take over the American League here, which had one division in particular had a big jump with that same team that we talked about last week that we as baseball fans, we're happy they're doing well, but I know you'll get into them quick in a little bit. But wherever you want to start.
I'm going to do what you did. I'm going to go reverse. We're going to start with the West.
There we go. All right.
All right. So yeah, so the Houston Astros now in first. They are 36 and 29, 6-4 in their last 10. And then we have the Seattle Mariners, like we said. We were talking about them before. They're in second. They're just above 500, 3-7 in their last 10, though.
Not too great.
Not too great. Texas Rangers are just below 500 with a 31 and 35 record. 4-6 in their last 10. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just not hitting. I don't know what happened to them.
They're not. No.
Known for offense, they just have nothing.
No, not at all. The Angels are 30 and 34. What do you expect from the Angels? Not much.
Kind of shocked. I'm kind of shocked they're at this record, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I know they're not good. Obviously, when you're under 500, you're not good. But compared to what they've been the last few years, being this close to 500, 4 games under, I don't think that's as bad for them. And they're only 5. The division is not that great, where they're only 5.5 games out. You can make
that's
that
true.
up. You can make that up in a 2-week, 3-week span. Now you never know, but I don't see.
Yeah, and they're
going
in their last 10 here. They're 5-5. So I mean,
they're playing a little better. 500 balls better than what their record is. So maybe they can turn it around.
Absolutely. Yeah.
See what happens.
And then we get into the last place, the Oakland Athletics, 11 games behind. They're in last place, 26 and 41. Playing in a minor league stadium, they just don't have the. It's just what did you think was gonna? You know what I mean? It's just not a good situation, stadium wise and team wise. You know what I mean?
And they honestly they weren't that terrible for the first month and a half of the year.
No,
the past middle of May to now, they just have it.
And then going on that, they're 3-7 their last 10. So
yeah, that'll do it to you.
Yep, that will do it. They're also, I think we mentioned this last week, they're 12 and 23 at home and 14-18 on the road.
Yeah, when you're not, and that's another thing. Good teams take care of business at home.
Yeah.
That's something they got to, I know it's not their home field, obviously, forever, but they got to take care of that. They got to be better at home if they want to.
They got to defend it, even if it's not theirs, even though it's in Sacramento.
You got. Yeah, it's what you got at that point. They got to be better.
Yep. And then let's go to the AL Central, the Detroit Tigers, baby. 43 and 24, dude. They're still rolling. They're having a great year. They really are. Yeah. They're having a really good year.
Increasing the lead as well.
I know. They're 7 games ahead of the Minnesota Twins here, who are in second with a 35 and 30 record, just above 500, 5-5 in their last 10. Below them is Cleveland with a 34 and 30, just slightly above 500 there. 5-5 in their last 10. Kind of the same. They're right there with the Twins, second and third. They're very tight. And then the Kansas City Royals, they're improving a little bit. They're above 500. They're 34 and 32. 5-5 in their last 10. So they're getting better.
Common theme there with those 3 teams. And they're all very much.
They're all in there. That's very even there. That 2 through 4 range is very, very even.
Yeah. And those 3 teams are very much in the wild card. Like in it or in the conversation right now. So
absolutely,
those 3 teams.
Yeah, and then the Chicago White Sox, 20 and a half games behind in last place, 22 and 44. That's still better than last year. That's improvements.
Baby steps for them, but
baby steps for them too. Yeah,
they have to make a new rule where we don't even mention the last place team and just they don't deserve it. Honestly, they're that terrible.
I was going to say, they are that far back. It's bad. Still not as bad as the Colorado Rockies, though. 26 and a half back in theirs. I went back and looked real quick. Get a reference.
There's something else. But at least for the White Sox, they aren't as terrible as they were. But still, they have a lot of work to do, man.
Oh, big time, yeah. All right, and then let's get into the AL East. New York Yankees, 39 and 25. They are 5-5 though in their last 10. That's something I want to bring up. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Now they just came off a series not too long ago with the Dodgers, which they lost 2 out of the 3, which was expected. I mean, the Dodgers are the Dodgers. We say it all the time. The Cleveland series they had, and then they just wrapped up their series with Boston, right? So, I mean, those are some tough teams to play. And the Guardians have been playing better baseball. Boston, like we talked about, which we're going to get to. I'm going to get through them in the standings here. Those are teams that are on the rise, and then you face the Dodgers. So come out 5-5. It's kind of expected, but, you're still ahead by 4.5 games. So, and behind that is the Tampa Bay Rays with a 35 and a 35-30 record. Yeah, they 2 out of the 3 against Boston. Yeah, so there's that too. You know what I mean? Like I said, teams that are on the like Cleveland and Boston are 2 teams that are getting better. So it's not terrible to come out that, and I mean it's not great for how the Yankees are, but again, the competition was good. It was like the last 3 series were really good, like good teams, I should say. Tampa Bay 35-30. 7-3 though in their last 10. That's a big jump for them.
Better. Look at them.
Yeah, and then it's even better in our third place. Toronto 35-30, and they're 8-2 in their last 10. How about that?
They've been I think one of the biggest surprises in the league, just because
they have absolutely. They've been one of the biggest. Yeah,
we said this last week. Like when the beginning of the year, there were some guys they didn't bring in or bring back, and we thought Vladdy would be traded. He got locked up, re-signed, didn't start out too great. Now they're hitting on all cylinders, and this is the Blue Jays team. We've been saying it. I know as baseball fans, we've pretty much everyone thought this over the years. This is a team that has so much unlocked potential that if they can get it going, like they can be consistently good for years, just because it's so tough to get a position player group that has like a lot of talent, and they have that for the most part. That's the hardest thing to find to feel everyday players that are consistent, and Toronto has that. So they can get all the pieces to work, and they can be a really good team. And it's 22-13. I think you just said that at home, 22-13. That's a really good home record. So that's quality baseball at home, which you need to do to be a postseason team. And they're one of those teams that are right in there, right in the wild card mix. And you never know. Yankees can have a bad week or two, and then the Blue Jays can be in first place.
I know that's the thing. They can if they keep playing like this is gonna, the way it's going.
Yeah, you never know. It's early enough where teams can make a big jump in the standings. Still, it's still way too early in the year. It's still a lot of time.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. And then Boston, I think they're going to see some improvements. They're 5-5 though in their last 10, 32-35. I think we're going to see them improve though a little bit.
Yeah, I think what we were saying with the prospects being up now, someone like Jarren Duran in the leadoff spot, which trade rumors have happened with him, but I don't understand why they would trade him. It just doesn't really make any sense just of what they want to do, unless they trade Duran for like significant pitching help where it kind of shores up the pitching staff. I can understand that, but otherwise I would keep him around. But definitely a team I feel has a chance at making the postseason this year, just because of the lineup that they're going to start putting out there. And those rookies, they're going to hit because they're talented players. They're all top prospects. They're going to go out there and hit. They're all going to go out there and hit at some point.
Yeah. And then last place, Baltimore Orioles, disappointing season. 26-38, 13 games behind there. 7-3 though in their last 10.
And
how about that though?
And still 12 games under 500.
I know they're still really bad though.
All right, we're not done just yet with baseball. The one thing actually we're gonna go back to back here. So Biggie, what's up next here? What do we got?
We got you're up first, but it's your chalked moment of the week.
Oh yeah. So Hunter Dobbins from the Red Sox, you're a very young pitcher. Maybe still is a little bit immature in the things that he may think in his head. So he was interviewed. Of course, he pitched against the Yankees last night. He said in his interview, "I'd rather retire than play for the Yankees," which I understand. Like he's a Boston guy. He's on the Boston Red Sox. He's playing the Yankees, so it's still a rivalry, not as heated as it used to be, but it's a rivalry. I get that part, but it's also like you're young in your career. What if one day you were the only team that were to sign you was the New York Yankees, and then
what are you gonna do? Like,
what are you gonna retire when you have no other chance?
Yeah,
you gotta be a little smarter, man. That's all I wanted to say with that.
Rookie mistake. It's okay. It's all right.
It happens, but I think it was definitely worth mentioning. Of kind of a dumb thing to say, but I like the angle though of the rivalry, like just saying like, oh, I would never play for them, but it's also like,
I'm sorry,
think about
kid.
it.
This is a kid.
What are the odds that you're going to be on this Boston Red Sox team for your whole career? I mean, hopefully that's the case, but you never know what can happen in your career. Anything can happen.
Anything could. Yeah.
I think you need to be a little smarter next time, Hunter.
I agree. All right, so that's the end of our baseball stuff. We're gonna move into the football now with
my.
Oh, dude, this is a great one. I think our viewers are going to enjoy this. This is my chalked moment of the week. So, Bill Belichick, as we know, is the head coach of the University of North Carolina Tar Heels this upcoming year. And as some of you may know, he is dating a 24-year-old woman, and he is well out of that age range. He is in his 70s, folks. And I don't know if you guys saw a little bit ago, she was getting involved in practice and doing these things. And I read an article, and a longtime, quote unquote, longtime UNC supporter complained to the school about Bill Belichick and his little girlfriend. So I'm going to pull up the article. I'm going to read it a little bit, read some quotes here. So the school has gotten blowback for its Belichick blunderbuss, as it says. So this is from theathletic.com. Seemed at times to be trying to satisfy the minimum word count here. This is a crazy thing here. Like, this is a long time. This is them coming at the school about this. This is insane.
Yeah, that's big. In college, we know that's huge.
So you ready for this? This was what was written to the university's president. I am a longtime UNC fan. Cannot believe you are stuck with a coach who is clearly being run by a woman who is young enough to be his granddaughter, dominating football practice and interviews. The unnamed person wrote, "It's ridiculous. Won't end well. Makes UNC look foolish." Yeah.
Not a good look.
No. And she's been reminded that she doesn't work for the school. Belichick insists she isn't, without delving into the fact that she previously was. So, as we know, she was at practice saying certain things and, all this stuff. And it's obviously a bad look for the school.
Yeah, and they probably thought at the time, we're bringing in this, all-time coach. Maybe they didn't necessarily feel that those things would be happening with.
No, you don't think of that, no.
Yeah, but now you have to deal with it and be like, oh, maybe we made a mistake. But listen, it's still early. He hasn't even coached a game yet. So if he goes out there and wins like he normally does for the most part of his career, obviously, then
we'll see how that translates now. But
not the best start, if you want to say that. Not the best start to the Belichick era in college, which is still mind-boggling to me that he's coaching college kids after kind of his mentality of.
Oh, yeah.
Like going from the NFL at the highest level, coaching a championship level team pretty much every year. The college kids that aren't as talented, coming out of high school, it's weird. And getting transferred.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to go, and I'm going to be seeing it because I'm a Syracuse fan, and they're in the ACC, and Syracuse plays UNC this year. Actually, in Syracuse, I think I'm going. So, I season ticket holder of Syracuse Orange. So it's a Friday night though. It's Halloween. I'm probably going to be up there in Syracuse. So
pretty good game to go to then.
I was going to say I get to see Bill Belichick, but yeah, so I'll probably be at that game. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully UNC isn't as good as people are saying, and Syracuse exceeds my expectations.
Yeah, definitely. Let's get into some other football news. Here, I know last week on the show we said, where is Aaron Rodgers? Because we know he's one of those
big mystery.
He's always doing something that gets in the news, but never in the sense of what is he actually doing?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And yes, Aaron Rodgers is playing and returning for his 21st year in the league at 41 years old. So he's been in the NFL for a very long time, and he will be joining the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's a lot we have to get into here. I feel there's a lot of different puzzle pieces that need to be filled. But yes, he has a pulse. He's alive. He came out Friday afternoon and said he's going to Pittsburgh. He signed a huge contract, which I think people knew that wasn't going to happen.
I was going to say, you weren't going to get a big contract now at this point in your career.
No, not at all. And I don't think he was looking for that anyway. I think he was just looking for the right time to announce what he was going to do and all that good stuff. But there's definitely a few things that we need to talk about, just like takeaways as a whole. First thing that comes to mind for me is, okay, so 2 years ago, he went to the Jets, right? We think about it. Obviously, you take into account Mike Tomlin is a legendary coach pretty much in the league. He's been with Pittsburgh forever.
Yeah.
He knows how to coach. But I feel that you can compare the Steelers and the Jets kind of the same just because when he went to the Jets, they had a good defense. Pittsburgh definitely has a good defense.
Oh, yeah, that's their strong suit for sure.
Yeah, the Jets had a few weapons on offense at the time. Steelers have a few weapons on offense at the time. I just think that the offensive lines are kind of not at the same level. I kind of feel the Jets were a little more ahead than what the Steelers can offer, which is tough for a 41-year-old. But I feel we can take Rodgers' season last year because obviously the first year he got hurt, whatever.
Yeah, he didn't play at all.
Last year we can take his season into kind of two halves just because first year First half of the year, first 3 weeks, he looked good. Didn't look good. Just kind of looked rusty. Then
Yeah,
that end of that third game, he definitely got hurt and didn't want to admit it. Played through it. Looked
yeah,
awful for the next like 6 weeks. Then the
yeah.
second half of the year, they didn't win games, but they were in it. They had chances at winning. They blew a lot of leads and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Which I think if he was on Pittsburgh and that was the other way around, they'd probably win those games.
I was
And he
gonna
put
say,
up
yeah, those probably be wins.
and he
Absolutely.
and he put up good numbers. So the point I wanted to get to was with you here is, do you think that Pittsburgh had 10 wins last year? They were a
Yeah,
playoff team. Would have
still playoff
definitely,
team. Regardless of how it ended, yeah,
yeah.
they made it.
They started out great, but they obviously didn't end well. Do you think
Which has
that?
been the case for the last couple of years. If you look at the
Yeah,
Steelers, that's been
exactly.
their thing.
And the
And
point
what-
I just wanted to ask you here. Do you think that this team with Rodgers at this stage of his career, everything that comes with Aaron Rodgers, do you think that there will be a better team this year? Because listen, the division is tough. You got the Ravens and the Bengals are going to be good
yeah,
teams. You got to understand that. But the Steelers definitely, I would feel they're at the same level of what they were. Because listen, I feel this level of Rodgers compared to what Russ was last year may not be as what we thought it would be, obviously 5, 6 years ago, but
yeah,
still definitely better than what Russ would bring, in my opinion. I believe that.
yeah. I'll agree with you on that. Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers is far gone from what we know as Aaron Rodgers.
Green
I
Bay,
mean,
yeah,
whether you
not,
want to admit it or not, he's way out of his prime, to say the least. But
yeah,
I don't think there's going to be much of a difference in Pittsburgh. The
okay,
defense is going to be pretty much the same. Mike Tomlin's still there. I'll say that he's still there.
no
You know
doubt
what I'm
about
getting at. He
it.
shouldn't be there, but that's
No, I
okay.
know what you mean, but he does know how to win. We say
He
that.
does, yeah. I'd say they haven't missed. They've missed the playoffs like what? No, they haven't missed it yet.
Well, he never
I
had a
don't think
losing
so.
season, so he does. Listen, that you take that with a grain of salt, though, just because 9-8 is a winning season, but you do nothing in
Yeah,
the
right.
playoffs.
That's the thing. It's those
What
type of
can you
winning
really
seasons.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But again, I don't think it's going to be much different. They lost George Pickens, which I think is a good move for them, to be honest with you. As we've seen, there's a trend of Steelers wide receivers, divas. Every time they leave Pittsburgh, their career just goes downhill. Pittsburgh
yeah.
gets rid of guys that aren't, good guys to have around the team. I mean, let's go back to Antonio Brown, the biggest example. Look at where he is at now. I mean, a lot of that could probably be contributed to CTE, but regardless, they got out of Pittsburgh like right before that all happened. Juju Smith-Schuster, like the actions that he partaked in that 2020 season, all the stuff that he did, he's gone out of there. Chase Claypool out of there. George Pickens, who obviously has had some issues off the field, you know what I mean? Like just locker room stuff, gone. You know what I mean? So it's just a trend that we see in Pittsburgh. So I don't think much is going to change, to be honest with you. I think Rodgers will do better than he did in New York because I think, no offense, JD, he has a little bit of a better team around him.
None taken. Yeah, and
Yeah.
The Jets aren't a winning culture, despite
No,
who the
that's the
doesn't
thing.
matter.
Pittsburgh is more of a winning culture too.
They have a
Yes.
rich history. They know how to do things correctly, which I
Yeah.
feel like what exactly when he was with Green Bay. They're one of those teams. They don't find ways to lose. They find ways to win. Which is
Right.
what I was trying to say with the Jets was, like he at the end of the year he played a lot better. Like he looked, obviously he didn't nowhere near what he was in Green Bay. We can say that, but he could still spin it. He can make mostly all the throws. It was just making some different adjustments that like running around he couldn't really do as much anymore. But with Pittsburgh, I feel he's not going to be able to do that running around just because offensive line is a little shaky. But when you
Yeah.
have someone like a DK Metcalf, I still think they will go out there and they need a wide receiver too. I feel like
Yeah,
they
they do. They
get
do. They
that.
can't just rely on. Yeah, they can't rely on DK. No.
No, they definitely need that. I don't know to what extent they'll go to get to that. I don't know if they're because it doesn't seem like Pittsburgh's one of those teams that'll go out there and make a huge trade to bring
No.
someone in after they
Mm-mm.
did with Metcalf. That's already one guy. But also, I don't know, like if we know what Rodgers did in New York, and I have the comment there about Arthur Smith.
I was gonna
Rodgers,
say. I was just gonna get to those from
Rodgers,
Marty.
you've seen the personality of what he went to in New York when things didn't go the way he wanted. He kind of did his own thing in terms of running the offense. I feel in the beginning with the Steelers, that maybe the first month or so, because this is it for Rodgers. I think in his career, if that
Yeah,
first month doesn't go
it
great,
should be.
yeah, and if this first month of the season for him doesn't go great in terms of them scoring and stuff like that, as much as I don't think he thinks he knows everything in the world, him himself, he thinks he knows everything.
Yeah.
So he may go nuclear in his mind and be like, you know what, I'm calling the plays. Screw him, which I could see happening. And Arthur Smith
Yeah.
doesn't feel like one of those guys that can command a whole room. You know what I mean? I feel like if
Yeah,
it's him,
so it
Chubb,
might be the Rodgers show, like
that's
in
what
the
I'm saying.
offensive scheme of things.
Yeah,
You
but
know what
then
I
again,
mean?
you have to take into account Mike Tomlin being there. That's someone that doesn't take the nonsense. I don't think
Yeah,
he
that's
cares a
true.
little
Yeah, I
bit.
was gonna say, like, as much as I'll say Tomlin he should have been gone as a coach. He does, he doesn't take any BS. He really
He
doesn't. He's
doesn't.
one of those legendary coaches that doesn't take any crap from anyone.
and and I think that that may alter some of the things that Rodgers may think about but not do, just because they have a respect level for each other. When he came to the
Absolutely, yeah.
Jets, he knew all along that was his team. Everything was his team because he didn't respect Salah. He didn't respect Ulbrich when Ulbrich
No,
had
because look at what it led to. Solid departure from the Jets. I think that
exactly
was contributed to Rodgers because look at their relationship. They didn't get along at all.
not really, and it kind of felt like he had no respect for him. You could see it. And then
You
when
can
he was in
tell.
Green Bay, obviously Mike McCarthy had huge respect for LaFleur. I don't think as much, but with Tomlin,
No.
I feel they have a friendship outside of the game, which means a lot. Which I think
As
is
a
why,
Steelers fan, I would hope.
yeah. Which I think this may obviously for this year it may work. I'm not saying Super Bowl because that's not going to happen, but
No.
I
No.
do feel they have a chance of going out there and possibly winning. Listen, if they made the playoffs all these past few years with the quarterbacks they put out there, a sev-
True.
a
Yeah.
65% or 70% Rodgers can do a little better or a little better than what they did, which is one
What
playoff.
they've had out there. Yeah, I agree.
Give the
That's
Steelers one
actually
playoff
a really
win.
good point. Yeah.
Yeah, give the Steelers one playoff win. I think the fans will be happy, and then they move on. I don't think they should expect the Super Bowl. They really should not expect that. No shot. But
Yeah. No.
it is
100%
what it
not.
is. Another guy with Packers ties, Biggie, was released, which I think is kind of huge, but I feel was coming. Time was coming, not because of the talent, just the
Right.
attitude on and off the
The
field.
attitude thing. Yeah. But still
Jair,
huge. It's still huge.
yeah, Jair Alexander was released from the Packers earlier today. Do you have any possible like destinations you want him to go to, or you think he'll go to? And
Um.
what do you think just happened here? Because I feel there was a few moments where I know there was one game he went out there and he like declared himself captain for a coin toss. Lafleur didn't
Yeah.
even Lafleur
I
didn't
think
say
that's part of it.
anything.
I think a little
Has
bit
to
of a
be.
decline in play and the attitude, mainly the attitude. But I think it's the Packers are one of those teams that, um, if something doesn't go right, like you said, they're one of those cultures that find ways to win. Like you know what I mean. We're saying the Steelers and all that. They will get rid of any problems that they have. Like they might be the most well-ran organization in the NFL. Like
Yeah.
from GM, head coach, like you know what I mean? Like if there's a problem, if there's a cancer on that team, they're going to get rid of it. And I think it was a combination of a little bit of a decline in play and mainly his actions. And I think they're like, we're not like we have a standard here in Green Bay. We're not going to accept that. We're getting rid of you.
Yeah, which you can't blame them for. I mean,
No, absolutely not. Especially for the way that culture is and the team, the history of the team. It's not. Again, it also ties back to look at the Steelers of all their wide receivers like George Pickens. They get rid of Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, even too. We can go with the other just general players. Like it's a culture thing. It's a team that doesn't put up with any BS, and they're a winning culture with rich history. And I think it's the same thing almost. It's the same deal with Jair Alexander here.
yeah, and he'll definitely obviously he'll be on a team shortly.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Because he's still a solid player. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's bad. It's just I think a combination of a little decline in play, but the main reason is definitely the attitude. He's still wherever he goes, like teams are gonna want to get him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel it has to be a team that has a culture built in where they're not going to take it, and he's got to know when he steps in the door, he's got to keep his mouth shut, which is a little tough.
I was
But
gonna say, is that gonna happen though? You know what I mean?
it,
Like, is that
it
gonna
depends.
happen?
It depends who it is. That's what I feel. And I know we don't have this on the notes here, but someone like Jalen Ramsey will be out of Miami very soon. Mike McDaniel's kind of a laid back guy. I can see him
Yeah, he
saying,
is.
you know what?
Yeah.
I can see him. You know what? We'll take Jair in here, see what he can do for us because they're going to need a cornerback after Ramsey's gone. I can see that
I
happen.
was gonna say, if Ramsey's gone, I think they pick up Jair Alexander and he becomes their main guy in the secondary there.
Yeah, that's very possible. Next thing we had here was Nick Chubb, who, yes, of course, isn't at his peak anymore, but signed with
No,
Houston.
but still solid.
Still going to be a solid player, and him and Joe Mixon, which I think people forgot that they brought in last year. That's a really good duo.
That's a really good duo. And the Texans are a team that for the last year or two have been on the rise. They've been really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
one of those teams that's going to be consistently better from where they were.
100%. And the fact that they got a guy like Nick Chubb, who usually, more than me with football injuries, but usually the second year off a major injury is usually a lot better than the first one.
Oh
Chubb
yeah, absolutely, yes, yeah,
and he struggled. He struggled last year. I know the Browns were not a good team, so that kind of
No,
puts a lot into it.
it's a combination of him being back from that really bad. It was like a
It was
really significant injury,
really bad,
and
yeah.
just the fact that it's the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, and now he gets a fresh start on a 1-year deal, $3 million. So I'm sure he's gonna have a chip on his shoulder with that.
Oh
Was
yeah,
a free agent. Was a free agent up until today, so that's another thing.
yeah.
Him,
For
him
someone
and
like
Joe
name
Mixon,
like Nick Chubb too, that's like crazy.
yeah,
Think about it.
exactly. And I think if they get an 80% Nick Chubb, 70% Nick Chubb of what he was a few years ago, that's huge for them, and that just gives them two legit running backs. And the one thing I think we should talk about here before we move on to the last guy was this definitely has some fantasy implications
Oh,
for both guys, right? Am I wrong?
oh yeah, because especially Nick Chubb, like top fantasy running back. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those guys that everybody wants to get on their fantasy team.
Yeah, and Mixon was a big fantasy guy last year, and now
Mhm.
his snaps will go down a little bit. So it's a
It's
great.
interesting to see how they're going to work that.
Yeah, and I think if I were Houston, I would definitely consider using both backs on the field at once, just because of how dynamic they are. You
Yeah.
got
Oh yeah, I agree.
to take advantage of that. And the last guy we had here was Jermaine Pratt, a longtime veteran of the
Done.
Cincinnati Bengals. Kind of seemed like the writing was on the wall when they fired Lou Anarumo. When soon as the season ended, he requested a trade. Then they've
Yep.
had all these workouts up until now. Wasn't there. They were considering cutting him a few weeks ago. They've officially done that. So I feel for Cincinnati, I know he didn't want to be there, but you could have worked that out. Cincinnati already had a questionable defense, but they don't have a lot of talent on anyway. And now you're
No.
losing one of your main veterans. I don't know. And they have a Hendrickson problem right now too. That guy doesn't want to show up either, which I agree
know.
with.
Yeah.
So their defense is not looking great. I mean, their
No.
offense is terrific. They could score 40 points, but their defense can't stop a nosebleed.
Mainly because of Joe Burrow.
Yeah, exactly. And their defense now, Pratt being gone, I know he's an older guy, but you want to have someone like that there now, and he's
I was
gone.
gonna say you need that veteran presence there. Like I feel like if you're the Bengals and the position that they're in right now, I feel so bad for Joe Burrow. He's one of those guys. Like it's like a Paul Skeens thing. He's a great, fantastic generational player. Just a bad team around him. They can't do anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
it's unfortunate.
that defense, they you would want to keep that veteran presence around, right? Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I mean, what do we know? I guess, right?
Right. Yeah, we're talking like we're NFL GMs, like we know the guy.
Some of the guys make us look like we should be at this point. Some of these,
right? Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. We'll hit our second to last segment here before we get into hockey. We'll give a live update and just talk about what happened before that. But it's time, Biggie. What is it time for?
It's time for how you doing?
How you doing?
How you doing?
All right, so I'll let you start off once again. Just take me. I know you talked a little bit about the Yankees, but more in depth of how you feel about just all your teams. Any news maybe that's happened over the past week or so involving the different teams that you like and stuff like that. Just checking in. Make sure you're doing good. For the most part, I'm pretty sure you are doing good. Your teams are all right in a good spot. But just talk about it. See what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's really changed besides the Yankees getting into a little bit of a skid. I was talking about some injuries that they had. Some like Jazz Chisholm's back. But they're getting in a little bit of a slump right now. Like we talked about earlier, they dropped 2 out of 3 against Boston, 2 out of 3 against LA, which is expected. And then 5-5 in their last 10. I mean, they're still putting up great numbers, but they're at a point now where they're hitting a little bit of a skid, which bound to happen. But I think they'll be okay. But you can't let this get too deep. You know what I mean? And they have a series coming up. They play the first game tomorrow at Kansas City, who we talked about is on the rise. So that's another series that can give them some trouble if they're having issues with Boston and Cleveland. Now, Cleveland, they did win that series. They won 2 out of the 3. But LA, they won the last game, and then Boston, they lost the last game, and then they lost the last 2 games. So, even to lose that one game to Cleveland, it was a 4-0 loss. So you want to talk about that, and then you have a series coming up against a good team. You might want to raise some eyebrows, but you don't because you know the roster's stacked. You know the guys are going to be good, but I don't know. I kind of have to have my eyes open a little bit now on these guys because they fell into a little bit of a skid. So that's my talk on the Yankees because we kind of went into it a little bit. Nothing new with any NFL stuff. The Eagles, nothing much. I just know CJ Gardner-Johnson, he put out this is a guy that's not on the Eagles anymore. He's with Houston. He said that he felt disrespected when he got traded. I saw that somewhere, that he felt that way. And then understandably, I mean, he was, and this is something I didn't bring up, which I wish I did. The Eagles got rid of everyone on their defense after they won the Super Bowl. CJ Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay. Those are the two main guys. You know what I mean? I understand Slay. I saw that one come, but CJ Gardner-Johnson kind of surprised me. And if I was him, I'd feel a little disrespected too. So nothing new there. The Cavs, Darius Garland's going to miss the beginning of the year, and Donovan Mitchell might be on his way out. The Flyers, nothing really new. Just hoping that we can see a little bit of improvement with a new head coach, maybe a little bit of a culture change. Because like I said, Tortorella was kind of – I'm not saying he was a bad coach, but he's not a player's coach at all, and players hate him, to be quite frank. And he wasn't getting along with probably the best rookie this past season in the NHL, Matvei Michkov. So you have a guy that's going to be insanely good for you, and you don't want that tension with your head coach. And then, again, there's other instances, but that's the main one. You don't want Michkov, a young player coming off he led the NHL in points and goals. So you don't want that being affected at all just because of your head coach, something that's easily fixable, I guess to say. Not really easily fixable, but something that, at that point in the year, how bad they were, Tortorella getting fired was inevitable. And, I'm glad that they did do that. We'll see how Rick Tocchet does, but yeah, nothing really new there. 6th pick in the lottery's the draft lottery's killing me though. I'm just not happy about that at all. And then Syracuse, nothing new. College football is kind of quiet right now. You don't see much. The NAL periods are done. You know what I mean? The teams are just getting to that Division I. They're just moving in to do summer workouts at the Division I level. So they're just starting that. So not much going on. Like I said, Syracuse's QB situation, Ricky Collins, the backup from LSU, went the whole spring, and then they bring in Steve Angeli from Notre Dame, who I think is going to be the starter. And, they let go of Trevor Pena, who is our number one, who was our wide receiver one. He wanted $2 million. We wouldn't give it to him because Fran Brown didn't think he earned it. So he went to Penn State, and he's definitely not getting it there. No offense. But yeah, and then we bring in, I forget his name. Same old stuff. I'm just rehashing from last week. Former 5-star wide receiver from Texas. So Fran Brown's one of those coaches, like I said, works the NIL really well. As much as I talk bad about the NIL, it worked in our favor, especially with McCord this previous year. So nothing new there. That's about it. That's all I got. Nothing new besides just the Yankees, because the Yankees are the only one that are actually playing right now. So
yeah, I got you. It's always good to just don't get overly concerned with the Yankees, but yes, you got to take into account.
Got to keep an eye out now.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, the week wasn't too great either. I mean,
No.
listen, when your team's in first place, you expect wins a lot of the time, of course.
Especially for how they've been playing, how many home runs. Like I've said, they're living up to that Bronx Bombers name this year.
Yeah, exactly. But
Every
I'm
time
sure
look over at the TV, someone's hitting a home run.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll be more than fine. It's just a little. It always happens with all these good teams. You can't win 7 out of 10 every week.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's not possible. But for me, it kind of pretty much the same. Mets, of course, really the only team doing anything right now. I know I want to talk a little bit more about the Knicks, a little more about them, just of kind of some of the things I've read and heard about, like inside the locker room, stuff like that. But we'll start with the Mets, who they had a tough stretch before we had our first episode together. Leading into that, they had a little bit of a rough stretch. But after that, they won 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers, 2 out of 3 against the White Sox, swept the Rockies, then split with the Dodgers, which they very easily could have swept the Dodgers on the road. They lost both of those games by 1 run. And then they swept the Rockies again over the weekend. So 6-0 against the Rockies, which, of course, as a good team, you have to go out there and do that.
I say that's one you got to get.
Yeah, and then against the Dodgers, beating them in the season series 4 games to 3, so 4 out of 7 is huge because I'm sure both of these teams are going to be neck and neck at the end of the year. And if they
Mhm.
happen to finish with the same record, Mets will go ahead and get that tiebreaker, which is something that happened last year for the Mets, where they finished tied with the Diamondbacks and they were able to get to the postseason. The Diamondbacks weren't. So that's I know this will be a different story because the Mets are in first place right now and they pretty much will make the postseason unless they collapse, which I don't see happening. But in
Nah.
terms of maybe a one seed in the playoffs, this is huge for that. So that was big for the Mets. Seems like I know Lindor got hit and broke his pinky toe or whatever it was, but he is fine. He missed the game. He's back out
Mhm.
there doing his thing. I think the second day after it happened, I believe it was the second day after it happened, he came up with a huge pinch hit double. He's fine. He had 3 hits the other day. Lindor is doing great. One thing I want to give credit to Carlos Mendoza again was okay. Listen, Soto is a guy that's accustomed to hitting second over and over and over again his whole career. He's not doing it right now for us. We're going to move him down to 3. Nimmo did not look comfortable at all in the middle of the order. Let's move Nimmo up to 2 for the most part. Nimmo
Mhm.
has been hitting. I know he had one of the games recently he never hit, but for the most part, the past few weeks he's been hitting great in the 2 spot, which is his spot, honestly.
Mhm.
Soto moving down to 3, so that's what I'm saying. Mendoza has a great feel of the game, which a lot of managers don't have anymore. They just look at numbers and put it in their face and just kind of
Yeah.
figure it out like that, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Mendoza is one of those guys who uses the numbers, but he uses his gut feeling too, which managers need, and that's big. Soto in the 3 spot might be what happened with last year with Lindor moving up to the first spot. Leadoff spot for Lindor has been something that he did all before coming to the Mets. Last year, they went with him back up in the leadoff spot. He didn't stop hitting. Soto goes down to the 3 spot. He's been hitting over 300 for the past week or two. That's huge. So I think that Mendoza has the ability to make different moves, and he's not afraid to do it. Yeah, and then the Mets play the Nationals this week and the Tampa Bay Rays before they face the Braves, who always give them fits. But I think this week they got 6 games or so at home. I think it's 6 games at home. 4-2, 5-1 would be nice. I think beating the Nationals are another division team, so it's hard to sweep a division team. But winning 4 to 6, I think, against those two teams is pretty big. We'll see what happens, but yeah, pretty much nothing to complain about with the Mets. They're doing great.
Yeah, no, they're doing great.
Yeah, they're getting more healthy with the pitching staff, which I think is big. Manaya, I can't wait for him to come back. He was so good for them last year. So if you can get him going, take your time with him. But if you can get him going in the right direction, he's going to be lethal for them in the postseason. Very excited for the Mets, and I think next week, which we'll do, I probably will forget, but we'll definitely talk about guys that should be in the All Star game because the voting has been released where everyone can go out there and vote and all that. So we can
Yeah.
definitely get into that, guys who we feel should be all stars from our teams and of course the whole league. But pretty much that's really it with the Mets. Jets and Rangers, nothing really on them. The Jets are doing practices and everything like that. I just really hope they go out there and get a wide receiver number 2 because Garrett Wilson needs help. So I think I'm
Yeah.
going to say it every week until they do so. I don't care who it is, just go out there and get someone. We can't have him getting double teamed in every game. It's just not going to work out. Uh, for the Rangers, they're not really doing anything right now. I know I talked about that last week. Mike Sullivan, excited to see what he can do for this team. And then my college team, St. John's Notre Dame, quiet right now, of course. Well, they'll be quiet for a little longer. And then with the Knicks, the one thing I know we talked about Thibodeau getting fired earlier, but I've heard some rumors a few rumors actually. One of them was that there was a player went into the meet because so Dolan was in all of these meetings with the players and the front office. They basically called all the players in. How do you feel about him being coach? They didn't name the player, but they said there was one player that said he didn't think he would be able to play for him again next year. So I'm trying to figure out who that would be.
Yeah.
One name that keeps coming to mind with me was Mikal Bridges, just because of the comments he made throughout the year about all the playing time of the starters, that he played too much and he felt it was tough on the body. That's just
Mhm.
what comes to my mind. I don't want to speculate, but kind of feels like he's the guy that could be the culprit for that. Because I know it wouldn't be Brunson, it wouldn't be Josh Hart.
Yeah, no.
OG is a quiet guy. He's not really going to say much. I know Cat was with him already, so I kind of felt if he had a problem with Tibbs the first time, it wouldn't have done that again. Made him with a trade, you know what I mean? With that,
Mhm.
the bench players didn't really play a lot, so it couldn't be them. You know what I mean? So kind of feels like Mikel is the guy that sticks out in terms of complaining about that, which it is what it is. I hope he gets traded. Honestly, I don't really have any use for him on this team. He didn't really change move the needle very much for this team at all. And then the other rumor was I don't know if you know, Rick Brunson. So Jalen's dad is one of the assistant coaches on the team. He's basically second in charge.
Yeah.
Was second in charge, but he'll still be here because like the dynamic, you can't get rid of the dad when kids on the team. Can't really do that. You know what I mean? So the thing that got me was there was reports saying that he had too much input on the team. So I don't know how much that goes, like to what level. Because yeah, you can have input in terms of game, like decisions, but was he involved in like player moves? I hope not. I don't know like how far that went. You know what I mean? So like I feel like there's a few things that, despite the Knicks having a great year, these rumors or things coming out now doesn't really show that they had a tight knit locker room. Maybe the players were tight, but it seemed like something else was going on there, and I really hope that they can fix that quickly because you don't want that. And
Yeah. No.
someone like Rick Brunson is very connected to the players. Of course, when your son's on the team, you have a guy like Bridges and Josh Hart who were roommates together. So I'm
Yeah.
sure the dad had a number of conversations with them and has stayed in touch with them over the years, of course. So it kind of feels like him being here, I don't want that to be a problem, but he's going to have to stay. So whoever this head coach is has to be willing to say, I have to keep this guy around. So I don't want
Right. Yeah.
it's a tricky situation. And
It
also,
is.
rumors are rumors, so this can all be lies. So we got to take that into account as well. But
I
there's a
was gonna
lot
say
going
none
on.
of this could be true. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then again, usually when coaches get fired and then rumors come out directly after that happens, usually there could be some truth to some of
Yeah.
those things. So it's very tricky, but I'm not going to be overly concerned with the Knicks, but they have to go out there and make a correct head coaching move and deal with the rest of what was going on there. Hopefully, that's nothing too much, but we'll see what happens with that. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's hit our last thing here. You know what we'll do because the hockey game's going on right now. We'll do the other NHL topics first, and then we'll get into the final. If that's good with you.
Yeah. Let's
With
do it.
that, all right. So we'll start with Pete DeBoer, who is the head coach of the Dallas Stars. Three
Gone.
straight years, 3 straight years of Western Conference Final appearances.
Mhm.
Not enough for them, so they got rid of
Yep.
him. Better results, I guess, right? You can't lose 3 years in a row in the same spot with a talented
No.
team. You
I
know
was say
more.
they're a really good team, and that's a move that I think is valid. I think it's a valid move from Dallas because it's obviously not working. It's you're not at that point. You're not getting past that point where you should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So like, if this is a team, yes, you can get to this point, but it seems like okay, these players and this coach, their ceiling is that, and you're not gonna get past it. If it's 3 years straight of the same thing, losing in the
Yeah.
same spot,
I know.
it'll work, right? That's what you're trying to say right there. So I
Yeah.
completely agree with that. And then the Capitals making a lot of news within the
I
last
say
24
they're taking up a lot of this.
a lot of the NHL headlines, which of course, besides the Stanley Cup final, not a lot going on, but they are making news. First, we'll hit
Mhm.
with the coach, Spencer Carberry, named winner of the Jack Adams Award, which is the coach of the year in any
Yep.
other sport. They just won
Fantastic year from them.
yeah, terrific regular season. I know they won in the
Historic.
first round. They lost in 5 games in the second round. 111 points on the year, so good for him. And I believe this is his second season as a head coach, right? Or
I think so. Yeah.
yeah, so that's something that is impressive. A younger coach, like an experience wise with a specific team, winning and becoming a coach of the year is very good. And then
Yeah.
Ovechkin, I know you told me this that Ovechkin, some things came out about him.
Yeah, there's discussion of if he's going to play one more year, or if he's got a few more left in the tank. I don't think I don't think he's retiring. He's not retiring. He still has at least another year left. I think he's playing one more. So I think this might be his last season coming up
Okay,
after the very historic one he just had this previous year.
I mean for a guy that up there in age, in terms of sports, to do that well, he definitely has more in the tank. And for the league, they should be happy he's willing
Oh,
to
absolutely. Oh my God,
like
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
he's the
he
all-time goal scorer. Yeah.
of course, and to have him around as long as you can is good. And then there's another guy is gone now, right? He's
TJ Oshie just announced he retired like right before we started the show. Longtime player for the Capitals, was with them on that Stanley Cup team. Great career. Yeah, so they lose Oshie. As we said, like that young coach, he developed a very veteran team, very very old team. It's a lot of those guys from the years of guys that have been there for a while. We're with the 2018 Stanley Cup team, and then like even the early 2010s, like mid to early 2010s, when the captain Ovechkin was, getting hot, like all those years, like a lot of those guys are still there, and Oshie was one of them. So now he retires. So the Capitals, though, I still think they're a solid team. They're going to be good still, no matter what. Ovechkin, I think, is still, like I said, like we've been saying, still has some left in the tank. He really does. So, yeah, that's in the news right now. The Capitals are taking up a lot of the news, NHL news right now.
Yeah, I mean, good for them. The retirement, that stinks, but at least two of the three things that we talked about were good. I mean, retirement is good for Oshie, of course.
I was going to say, great career from TJ Oshie for sure.
Great player, and give them credit for having a good year after a few down years. But the Stanley Cup final, I know we literally predicted the first two games to pretty much accurate for the most part. Shifting, they're in Florida is home now. They're actually up 2-0, right? At 2-0.
They are right now, correct. I have it on right to my left.
Oh yeah, right there. So I think we can break down game 1 and game 2 is just Edmonton, really good game 1, came back, played great.
I know, fantastic start to the series.
We saw the difference in styles, right? And we literally said,
like we said,
the way it would go, and this is the way it would go, and it happened. I love when we do say things and it happens.
And they actually happen. Yeah, I know.
And I want you to take me through like what you saw in those first 2 games in terms of the styles showing, right?
I mean, Edmonton had to crawl their way back, but you see the difference in styles of play here. I mean, Edmonton is they're a team that's going to put up a lot of goals. You know what I mean? They're a barn burner type team. Florida, on the other hand, will get you on the defensive side. And, they got Barkov. They have Bobrovsky in net, who's very good. I just don't think, if you look at it from a defensive standpoint, Florida's definitely better. But I think overall, offensively, Edmonton has more firepower. And we saw that, I think. Even though Edmonton, it took them a little bit to, crawl their way back in, and they got the win. They got it. But it goes to show you that, Florida's good enough to stop that offense. But Edmonton, like I said, they got a lot of firepower. They can make it work, and they did in that first game.
Yeah, and now in game 3, kind of feels like the style of the Panthers has taken shape in at least the first period, which obviously can change over.
Right. I mean, again, game 1, it could change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You never know. But at least for this part of the game, first period, 2-0 lead. They're home, so that helps a lot. Marchand got on the board, and who else scored a goal? I trouble finding it here. Do you know who else had the?
Just give me 1 second here.
I got you.
I can probably pull it up real quick for you. I got
it. With 12 saves, so he's always this. Of course, we know he's
right. That's where that defensive style comes in from him.
They trust him so much, is why they play that way, and that's big for them. And this game 3, when your series is tied up, we said this about the Pacers in Oklahoma City Thunder. When a series is tied up 1-1, game 3 is that much more important because it helps. I feel set up whoever wins kind of feels way more confident in terms of them getting through the rest of that series because all right, we got game 3. It's like winning game 1 pretty much. Obviously, it's just same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. So game 2 was 5-4 Florida. So even still, you give up 5. There it is, right there again. You give up 5 goals, but you also score 4. That's a 9-goal game, and it was also double overtime. So you know what I mean. Both games going into overtime. So again, very slim series, but you also you can see the differences in style. You still do because Edmonton still put up 4 goals. They put up 4 goals in the last 2 games. It's just Florida didn't. They came Edmonton got that comeback at the end, and then you go into double overtime in game 2, and Florida again has the advantage, but Edmonton still put up 4. You know what I mean?
Right.
So again, the same stuff we're seeing, like we've been saying.
Do you have any expectations or maybe bold predictions here until we get to hockey next week? Because I know our pick'em is not hockey.
No, it's not. I think, and it's actually kind of shocking me. Brad Marchand is playing pretty well.
Yeah, for an older guy.
For an older guy, and he's ring chasing, as we can tell. He won the one in Boston in 2011, but that was a long time ago. Boston's down the drain. They were this year. They had a really down year, and he's playing well for Florida right now, especially in the playoffs. So don't be surprised if Florida does win the series, and Marchand is the guy who gets them there.
Yeah,
Is
we'll
the
see
reason
what
they do.
and he's got a goal tonight too. So he's playing really really well. I mean, and he's playing obviously with talented players, and especially when you're an older guy, that helps a lot. But he's still a great player. But we'll end it off here with our pick'em segment. Once again, we're gonna decide. I was like, all right, you know what? Last week we picked basketball and hockey. I was like, let's change it up a little bit. We'll do baseball this week. Dodgers versus Padres series starting. The first game starts in about an hour and a half. Maybe actually sooner than that. Maybe a half an hour. I'm not sure. What I think it's 9:40. I think the game starts, or 10:10, one of those. But besides the point, Dodgers versus Padres, huge matchup in the NL West. We said it before how Padres are only one game out now, so this can be a huge momentum swing for either team. Dodgers go out there, win the series, it changes things. Padres can get into first place perhaps if they win. If they win and do well in this series, but our standings overall, I think next week we forgot to do this. Next week we'll have like a little standings board for us, but we're 1-1 just because basketball we didn't perfectly get. Hockey we did, but basketball, the Pacers, of course, that game-winning shot, or else we would have still been undefeated. But we did nail the hockey pick, so we'll do that. But I'm gonna take the Padres tonight in a close one, 4-2. I kind of feel like this whole series. I know the Dodgers don't have their main pitchers right now. There's a lot of injuries, but I feel like usually when two good teams play each other, for the most part, the pitching does rise up a little bit. Nick Pivetta has been a really, really good every fifth day for the Padres has been good this year. He's been nails pretty much for the most part. And it seems like this. I know the Dodgers only letting up 4 runs and losing is not a lot, but I feel like the starting rotation is not getting deep into games. Is going to catch up to them a little bit. So maybe the starter goes out there, only pitches 4 or 5 innings. Dustin May is not a guy that gets deep into games anyway.
Right.
And maybe the bullpen gets a little tired. They blow the lead tonight or whatever it is. But I think the Padres somehow come away with a 4-2 win and tie up the NL West after tonight.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I know we talked about it earlier in the standings, but the Dodgers kind of like the Yankees did. They hit a little bit of a skid, not as much, but a little bit of a skid. Padres, they're in contention for that first place spot, and like I said, they always fall second fiddle to them every year in that in the NL West. So like, you know, it could be a good series. I think it could be a good series. I think maybe I think I'm gonna agree with you. I think they do take game one because they're gonna come out because this is a big series. This is a huge matchup, especially for division standings. So I think the Padres are gonna come out with some firepower, and the Dodgers aren't gonna be ready for it just yet. I do think the Dodgers do win the last 2 games. I think the Padres get them tonight in game 1, and then they win, and then the Dodgers win the next 2. So that's my prediction on that.
All right, good. So we're pretty much so far for our 3 picks that we've made in agreement, but I'm sure we'll definitely have. We said it last week. Good. Football comes around, we'll have
football,
we'll have our disagreements. But for now, kind of it's tough to pick games per se, just because there's not a lot going on besides baseball. But obviously the final and everything. But yeah, pretty much the same. But we're gonna wrap this one up here. Any final thoughts before we sign off here? On just, I think another great episode. I think, to be honest, we might have done better than last time, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think we're gonna get better every week.
All right, that'll do it for Biggie Mills. I'm JD. Just go out there, like the TikTok, the Instagram, both pages as well. And then we'll have our reels up throughout the entire week. And then if you missed anything of this episode, it'll be up on there just for everyone to watch. But for Biggie, I'm JD. See you, everybody.
Peace out.